what we believe is that once you cross that line into bringing in some supernatural component of that, okay, now you get risky, right? Because if you're not making that prayer to Jesus, okay, so, and the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, right?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, you're in for a wild ride today. So we've got a fascinating debate happening between Christians and non-religious folks, and things get intense. They're going head to head on whether God can actually be proven, what prayer really does, and whether manifestation is just psychology or something supernatural. But here's where it gets crazy. One of the Christians drops this bombshell claim that if you're not praying to Jesus specifically, you're literally praying to Satan. Yeah, you heard that right. The non-religious side is not having it, and the pushback is absolutely worth seeing. You're going to want to stick around because this conversation escalates in ways you won't expect. And the arguments from both sides reveal so much about how people actually think about faith and reality. Real quick, drop a comment letting me know where in the world you're watching from. I love seeing how global this community is getting, and it genuinely makes my day reading your comments. All right, let's get into this.
Christian prayer can affect real-life outcomes.
Well, you guys raise your hand. Prayer in the Christian context. So to you guys, what is the Christian context?
You guys seek God in your daily life. You try to do that's at least one thing
prayers
I heard
you say before a meal.
The Bible
like everybody knows.
Yeah, the Bible is y'all
together.
structure of how y'all basic instructions before leaving Earth.
That there's an afterlife with heaven and hell. That's a part of the context.
I guess what is, for you guys, how do you define prayer?
I would define prayer as like a bunch.
We don't.
You can talk to him right before you go to bed. You can talk to him in moments of problems. Like, I think you can talk to him out loud or in your head, right? So I think it's like, for me, I got my own ways that I'm doing that, and it's working for me. And so if it's working for you, that's great. I am not talking to a man in the sky because I'm a woman with a vagina. But
you don't want a sky
guys,
daddy, huh?
And there's women, and that is totally fine, and you guys can figure that out in your own brains. I don't know how you do, but that's chill. But for me, that's happening in my own way. So I 100% know whatever you are doing in your brain and making that happen with your beliefs must be working, because I see it happening. So.
I don't knock that, because my brother is he's big into it, and he was saying like God, he talks to him as if that's his homeboy. If this is that, I want you to do this and blah, 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 blah. And it so happens, and then somebody say 11:11, and then that happened.
Exactly.
I don't know how to make
say that again, Jay?
So I'm saying, however it works for you, just because my brother was saying like McKenna was saying, like, I need to know, like, if this is it and this is what it's going to be, like, show me. And my brother, he's like a minister, actually, a licensed minister. So he was just saying like, oh, like, if you're God and you're this, what I'm saying, you need to do this and I want you to do this. Talking to him as if it's like you and I, you're talking, and somehow, not saying some miracle, but some breakthrough or whatever energy, whatever intention was behind that, it worked out for him. And so I was just saying, being funny that someone can say 11:11, let's put into it. And then we have some coins, we got money, you know what I'm saying? And we have, I'm just saying.
That's why
I don't know how our brain, you understand, you get what I'm saying? That's why I agree with y'all, because I get it. Like Sam said, whatever you put into it, the energy is like, which we know that it's like bad, which you sow a bad seed, fall on good ground, right? Okay, so the negative energy, it's like only negative thoughts, only negative things should come. Vice versa if it was positive. So that's how I look at it. So I do agree with that. When I wasn't being funny when I raised my hand, but I think it makes sense when it comes to that Christian. Yeah.
I think to disagree would be to say that in any other religious context, it's that prayer or those thoughts don't do anything in real life. And like, I think that is to negate like some of these religions we've been talking about that are like really, really, really old and existed long before any of this like male-centered religion. And so like for me, I'm not going to say that's not real, because I know that our bodies and our brains are on some sort of different thing. And I'm not the one to say what that is. There's religions that want to say that, and that's okay. But like, whatever that is, it's older, it's beyond me, so it's not my job to say it's not real.
The setup of this prayer conversation reveals something fascinating about how religious and secular perspectives clash. Both sides start with a reasonable back and forth about what prayer means. Someone explains you can talk to him before bed, in moments of problems, out loud or in your head. Standard religious practice. Then Sam makes a really interesting point. She says, I am not talking to a man in the sky because I'm a woman with a vagina. This highlights something important about the theological framework being presented. She's questioning why the divine is always framed in masculine terms. Why is it always father, never mother? That's a legitimate question about gendered religious language. What really strengthens the secular position here is when they point out that prayer and meditation produce results across all religious contexts. They mention ancient traditions that existed long before Christianity ever developed, way before this male-centered religious structure became dominant. This is actually a significant observation. If focused intention and meditation work regardless of which deity someone addresses, what does that suggest about the mechanism? It points toward human psychology and intentionality rather than divine intervention from one specific god. The religious side wants to claim their prayers have unique supernatural power, but the cross-cultural evidence suggests meditation works similarly whether you're Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, or just quietly focusing on your goals. That raises real questions about the exclusivity claims being made.
Like, that's okay. That might be something that's happening, and I'm not trying to prove it, but yeah, prayer or whatever that is somehow working for people. And in many different contexts, you might use the word prayer. It can mean a lot of different things. So
I was going to say, like, to change the conversation around a bit, like, what would be the issue with like sitting in quiet meditation, focusing on an outcome, and speaking to, say, a universal source, or speaking to the triumvirate, or speaking to even Allah? Like, what would be the issue with that? How would that change how you saw prayer? Like, would that be do you consider that to be possible, or just as possible?
yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, it's a super fantastic topic, right? So we're getting into effectively manifestation, right? So again, just set some goals, right? You just sit down and write out some goals for the next 3, 5, 10 years. Well, guess what? The probability of those things happening versus not doing that is, I don't know what the number is, but the chances of those things happening is so far greater just by writing those goals down, right? And again, just putting that out there, speaking that into reality, right? So there's absolutely something to be said for manifestation. You can, where you're not necessarily attaching it to some sort of supernatural thing. This is simply you and the natural world. Right? Okay, that works. And I've played with that. And sure, manifestation is a real thing. Now, what we believe is that once you cross that line into bringing in some supernatural component of that, okay, now you get risky, right? Because if you're not making that prayer to Jesus, okay, so, and the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, right? If you're not doing this, I know this is
not going to work.
This is right. This is the.
But it does. I just said it worked for me.
But it doesn't because
So,
to them it
okay,
doesn't.
sorry.
So this is the problem, okay, that the world has with the concept of when we say, hey guys, I don't know what to tell you, but this is what we believe, and I'm not trying to say you have to believe it either. I hope you do, but I'm not trying to push you in that direction.
That's totally.
Is that
Okay.
I hope you do. But
That's pushing someone in a direction when you say you hope you do, but it's okay.
I do with all my heart. So truly, because here's the risk. You pray to Allah or any other deity, okay, who is a God, but not the God, all right? You are praying to something that is not God, okay? So, in saying, oh yeah, make this thing come true. So that's like praying to the devil, all right, is what we believe, okay?
Watch what happens next, because Jason makes a fascinating contradiction. He starts by acknowledging manifestation works. He says, you just sit down and write out goals for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, and the probability of those things happening is so far greater just by writing those goals down. Then he admits, I've played with that, and sure, manifestation is a real thing. So let's pause there. He just acknowledged that goal setting and manifestation produce results without supernatural intervention. That's a major admission. It means human beings can shape their reality through intention and focus alone. No deity required. From a logical standpoint, that should settle the question about whether supernatural power is necessary. But then notice the shift. He says, now what we believe is that once you cross that line into bringing in some supernatural component, now you get risky. And here's the interesting part. He's the one proposing supernatural intervention. He's the one who believes in divine power. Yet when someone else brings in supernatural elements, suddenly it's problematic. Then comes the really striking claim. Jason says, you pray to Allah or any other deity who is a God but not the God, you are praying to something that is not God, so that's like praying to the devil. Think about the implications there. He's saying that praying to Allah equals praying to Satan. That's over 1 billion Muslims worldwide being told their prayers are directed at evil forces. This represents the kind of religious exclusivity that creates serious interfaith tension. It's why secular perspectives push back against these absolutist claims, because they lead to this type of theological framework where everyone outside your specific tradition isn't just mistaken, they're aligned with evil.
So, and I know other religions that feel that way, and I'm going to get all kinds of heat for that, but that's just the reality. And any Christian that is being honest with you will tell you that that's the truth.
That's the Christian reality.
That is the Christian reality.
So what I hear you kind of saying is that you believe that me sitting alone in meditation and manifesting for myself is not as powerful, because you believe that when you have a conversation with God, as you say, right?
Their God.
That entity then takes over the conversation and it manifests for you, or he manifests for you.
That's right. And now in doing so, you are now worshiping that God. Okay. And now you are a slave to that God. And you are going to be receiving from that God.
A slave.
Okay. Whoa. Well, we're all slaves. So we're
I'm sorry.
I'm not a slave.
To Jesus. Or
That wasn't.
It's like you got to be careful how you say
That's intense to say, man.
I'm cutting to the chase here, guys. This is.
It's just you shouldn't speak for other people.
I'm not speaking through other people, and this is again.
Sam wants to hear.
I'm not justifying myself. This is from the Bible. This is the word of Christ. Okay, you're either worshiping Jesus or you're worshiping Satan. Okay. So any form other than
that's too simple.
It's so simple. It's so simple that it's incredibly complex, right? So
it doesn't feel that complex.
So dig down into it, though. Where does that go?
Not that far.
Not that far. Just pretty messed up.
Why does it do this?
Flawed system.
Right? You position two blacks and whites. You said you either are a slave to Jesus or a slave to Satan. Where is the full
gray
middle ground spectrum?
Again, this is funny. I won't reference what we're not supposed to. But this is what I thought was fantastic. Okay, is that people want the gray. We want to live in the gray. We don't want it to be black and white because there's no wiggle room there. There's no option for me then to create my own reality. Okay, and that seems like a cheat because hey man, I've been given this thing, I have this mind, I have this intellect, I have this capability of honestly creating my own universe within my own mind and my own being. And now I'm being told that like I can't do that? And I have to just choose who I'm going to be a slave to? That seems like like I'm getting robbed, right? But the reality is,
It seems like you're robbing yourself. You've limited your brain to be it's either one or the other.
or have I chosen to expand it into an eternal reality?
If that's what you view as expansion.
Now, Jason presents the most absolute version of his worldview. He states, you're either worshiping Jesus or you're worshiping Satan. No middle ground? Either you accept his specific interpretation of his specific religion, or you are literally on the side of evil. Consider what this framework means. According to this view, every atheist, every agnostic, every Buddhist monk meditating for peace, every Hindu grandmother praying to Ganesha, every Muslim observing daily prayers, every Jewish person keeping Shabbat, all of them are worshiping Satan according to this logic, not just wrong about theology, not just following a different path. Actually serving evil forces, that's an incredibly stark binary. The non-religious side identifies this immediately. They point out, you either are a slave to Jesus or a slave to Satan. Where is the middle ground? And Jason's response is revealing. He says, people want the gray. We want to live in the gray. We don't want it to be black and white because there's no wiggle room there. He's framing nuance and complexity as weaknesses, as if thinking critically about reality instead of accepting binary absolutes represents a moral failure rather than intellectual honesty. But here's where the language gets really interesting. Jason claims that what he calls slavery to Christ actually equals freedom. He asks, or have I chosen to expand it into an eternal reality? I want you to think about that framing carefully. He's presenting total submission and obedience to a deity as expansion. He's describing giving up personal autonomy as liberation. That's a paradox worth examining, because usually we think of freedom as the ability to make our own choices, not surrender them. This illustrates why secular thinkers often challenge religious absolutism, not out of hostility toward religious people, but because when you construct a worldview where everyone outside your group serves evil, where freedom means submission, where questioning equals weakness, you create a framework that's difficult to dialogue with. When belief systems operate from the premise that they alone possess truth and all alternatives lead to darkness, finding common ground becomes almost impossible. That's the real tension in these conversations. So, what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.